So my name's Anna Jemmett, and I am a PhD researcher from the University of Kent and the Institute of Zoology at ZSL, and I'm funded by the Wild Camel Protection Foundation. What I'm researching is the creation of a management plan of how to save the wild camel from extinction. The Wild Camel Protection Foundation is a charity based in the UK and with a sister charity based in Mongolia. And we are the world's only charity dedicated to the preservation of the critically endangered wild camel and its Gobi Desert habitat. There are 3 species of camel, so there's 2 domestic species, they're the Bactrian and the dromedary. Bactrian's got 2 humps, a dromedary's got 1. So if you think about it like that capital letter turned on its side, so a B has 2 humps and a D has 1. The 3rd species is the wild camel, and it's actually the only wild version of a camel species left. So although the wild camel and the domestic Bactrian do look quite similar, there are some differences that you can look out for. So the wild camel is a little bit smaller, a little bit slender. It looks more like a wild animal. It looks like it's ready to run. It has a noticeably flat head, and its name in Mongolian actually means flat head. So the skull is a bit flatter than domestic Bactrian. It's got slimmer legs and smaller humps. So if you can recognize all those things, you might be able to tell them apart. But they do both have 2 humps. So the wild camels, or Camelus ferus is its scientific name, they are found in Mongolia and China. They did have a bigger range in the past, but those are the only 2 countries in which they're found now. We don't know for sure why the wild camel is critically endangered. There are expected less than 1,000 left in the wild, and that's probably due to a combination of issues. So it'll be habitat loss and climate change will probably be the big ones. The area in which they live, which is the Gobi Desert, is getting drier, desertifying more, and that makes the habitat less suitable for wildlife to survive in it. Historically, there would have been some hunting, although that's not an issue anymore. And another big issue is that they hybridize with the domestic Bactrian camel. So the current main project for the Wild Camel Protection Foundation is working on our scientific project. So although the species is protected across its range, we don't actually know that much about it. And the more information we have about it, the more likely we are to understand the risks that affect it and then in the end to protect it. So currently what we're working on is getting a population estimate, and we're doing that using camera traps. And we're also looking at the genetics of the species. So how the diversity is in both the wild population and the captive population, and then also looking at integration. So is there any breeding with the domestic Bactrians across the wild population in Mongolia? Although we work in China, it's more difficult just now, but we are in touch with scientists out there and hope in the future that we'll be able to do more with that population. For me, a good day at the office would be spent in the Gobi looking for camels or putting up camera traps, but day to day, a good day in the office is currently extracting genetic samples and getting results out of them. But every day is a good day. I get to study an amazing species. So some of the Wild Camel Protection Foundation's biggest successes to date have been getting the wild camel protected in its range both in Mongolia and China. And we've also helped with the initial genetic work that proved the wild camel to be a separate species from the domestic Bactrian. And we've started a captive breeding centre for the species in Mongolia. Knowsley Safari have been working with the Wild Camel Protection Foundation since 2018, and we've been using their expertise in our captive herd and their veterinary expertise as well to help us with some of the research questions and also with the health and welfare of the animals in Mongolia. If I could ask anyone what they could do to help the wild camel, we're always trying to fund new projects, so you can always donate to the charity or any of our project partners. But also if you could just talk to friends and families and get it out there that there's actually 3 separate species of camel, not 2, and that domestic Bactrian and the wild camel are a completely separate species. The more people that know that, the more people understand just how at risk it is. The wild camel is our very last species of wild camel, and we've done a lot with camels across the world. There are domestic species that carried across the Silk Route as well as currently still helping people. And I believe that we should do something to protect their wild cousins.